I decided to download Dune Awakening. I was really bored and I didn't really want to play any of the games that I already own. So, why not spend $50 and buy something new? What is Dune Awakening? Well, it's an MMO. Kinda. It's an open world survival game that is kind of along the lines of Ark, if you ever played Ark, or Conan Exiles. In fact, it's made by the same studio that made Conan Exiles. So let's turn back time to just a little over a week ago. I was looking at my roster of games and I was really unhappy with what I was looking at. None of it looked interesting. Now, I already knew what Dune Awakening was. It's not like I live under a rock or anything, but dystopian is just not my genre. Now, I know some of you are like, well, it's more sci-fi, it's not really dystopian, but I said what I said. I haven't even seen the movies or read the books. So when I asked myself if you could play any game, what kind of game would you want to play? I said, hey, other me, I would like an MMO. I would like for it to have PvP. I would like for it to have some good farming and crafting, and I want it to be open world. Dune Awakening hit all of those points that I wanted, and it felt kind of silly to not play it just because I don't really like the style that it is. So today I'm going to talk about my first 24 hours in the game and what I think of it. Okay, so we've already covered that it is a survival MMO, but for those who have never played a survival type game, I'm sure you're thinking, what does that even mean? Well, the hint is kind of there in the name. You gotta survive. Now, this is much easier if you do this with friends. I've been doing it solo and I've been having a good time. But to survive, you'll need to take care of your character. You'll need to keep them out of the sun and out of the heat. You'll need to make sure that they get armor so that you're crafting armor. You'll need to make sure that your character stays hydrated, as you can see on that little bar that's on the left side of my screen. You'll need to build a shelter. You'll need to try to stay out of sandstorms to keep your character alive, and most importantly, you gotta avoid the sandworms. In order to do all of this, crafting and gathering become hugely important. Now, I know I said I've been doing it solo, but this does become a lot more fun and a lot easier when you have friends that you're playing with. You send out some friends to farm certain things and other friends to farm other things, and somebody gets put in charge of building, and another person gets put in charge of machinery, and it works out. Alright, now I know I said I wanted a game with PvP, but I ain't made it there yet. So instead, I'll just talk about the combat. So some of the reviews that I read beforehand, before downloading it, said that the combat was really clunky and just didn't feel very good. And honestly, at first I was like, it's not that bad. I can manage, I can deal with this. But then the more I played, the more I kind of understood what they meant. Honestly, it probably wouldn't be so bad, except for the game is buggy. And the bugs aren't like game-breaking bugs. They're not terrible, and it's not enough to put me off. But because the combat systems do require just a little bit of skill, as in there's no like help with aiming, so you need to be able to aim. You need to know the range of your dagger or your sword before you go in for like a strong attack, because it's really easy to miss. And if you're not used to this style of fighting, it's gonna feel clunky to you, it's gonna feel slow, and it won't feel very enjoyable at first. Where the game really makes up for this is its class system. Just after character creation, you will pick a class, and don't worry, you're not locked into it. You can change later on as you move through the story, or you can even multi-class. Can respec, however, you can only do it once every 48 hours, so, choose carefully. Let's talk one of my favorite things in games, and that's farming and crafting. I'm gonna keep it real. I ain't made it very far in the game simply because I've just been running in circles, crafting and mining and gathering and raiding camps so I can collect blood and turn it into water. It kind of grossed me out at first, but now I'm used to it. I occasionally get questions on whether or not I'm a cozy gamer, and I always joke and I say, yeah, my cozy game is Final Fantasy XIV. And people always look at me, like I've got two heads, but they just don't understand the joys of crafting and resource management. Like, I think very few people will understand the amount of joy I felt the first time I was able to successfully gather some damn flower sand and outrun the worm. Took my damn bike, my clothes, my backpack. You don't want to die to the worm, by the way. He takes everything if you die to the worm. It's not fun. Not having a house or a base of operations in this game is just not optional. You're going to need one in order to put together all the machines that you need in order to do the actual crafting. And don't make fun of how bare bones my place is, okay? It's utilitarian. Besides, that is not my job. I am the gatherer and the crafter. My builder's currently on strike right now, but don't worry, we're in negotiations. I'll have a palace soon enough. Before you can craft, you need to research the items first. Getting intel points is pretty easy. You'll get enough of them as you move throughout the world. There's also these scavenger camps that you can clear out that will give you intel as well. There is an auction house in game as well, and a bank. Also, don't forget to pay your taxes. There's two hub slash city like areas where you have to go to do these things. One is Arakeen and the other is Harko Village. If you don't have flight unlocked, there's an NPC at the trading post that can take you to those, but you have to pay a fee. Okay, so let's talk exploration and about the world and kind of the underlying story. Quick note on character creation, because I know some people care about that. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was the best. I didn't think it was the worst. But I also don't really care about my character all that much. They're gonna get covered in armor. All right, so you're a prisoner and you're in a ship that crash lands on Arrakis. And you run into some guy and he's kind of rude to you from the start. But I low-key kind of appreciate it because, you know, like, I didn't want to fall into this lovely friendship story on this really terrible planet. Without giving away too much, because some people do care about the story, I will say that it seems to make sense so far. I've never watched the movies or read the books a day in my life, and I understand what's going on. For tutorials, you're given the option to kind of have one that holds your hand a little bit more if you've never played a survival game, or you could turn it off if you want. I chose the hand-holding mode for two reasons. One, I am easily distracted and I will forget what I'm doing if I'm not kept on task. And two, I thought it would be a good opportunity to describe whether or not I thought the tutorial was helpful at all for new people. And yeah, I did think that it was pretty helpful. I think that it's a pretty good tutorial and that you wouldn't have a very hard time at all if you've never done this before. If you choose the hand-holding mode, it's going to lock some of the items underneath the research portion. The benefit of that is so that way you don't accidentally spend intel points on things that you're not ready to spend intel points on. Because while it is really easy to gather those intel points, when you're in your early levels, it would kind of suck to accidentally unlock something that you can't build because you don't even have access to the materials. Okay, so let's talk exploration. You can climb on virtually anything. I haven't found anything yet that I can't climb. Granted, the terrain is largely rock and sand, so it's not like there's a lot to climb on, but I've climbed on people's houses and the sides of ships and lots of other stuff. As you can see here, the game has some bugs. It does get pretty annoying, but it's not the end of the world. I've played through worse. I thought I would get really tired of looking at sand and rocks by now, but honestly, it hasn't lost its allure yet. Which is strange, because like I said in the beginning, dystopian desert-looking vistas are just not my thing. Which I do find kind of funny, because a lot of people say that the beginning of the game is actually the worst part, and I can't wait to see the rest then. So, final thoughts. Who's this game made for? So first of all, I'm really enjoying this game and I do see myself playing it for the foreseeable future, especially if I can get the rest of my gaming group to join me. As for the type of gamer who would enjoy this game, I would say that the range would be pretty broad. You will need two things though to enjoy this game, and that is time and patience. I never really had the opportunity to really get into Ark or Conan Exiles, even though the rest of my gaming group were playing those games at that time. And that's largely because that was a time period in my life where I was working two jobs frequently. So yeah, that's it. If you're interested in it, you just need time and you need patience. You don't need to be a quote-unquote good gamer. You're not good at combat or you don't really have any interest in combat, then don't play with people who are going to force you to do PvP combat. As for whether or not the price tag is worth it, I think it is, because I have spent $50 on way worse things. The way I like to think about it is like this. Let's say I never touch this game again. I still spent $50 on something that gave me 24 non-consecutive hours of fun. Yeah, I remember them jokes on social media that were going around where it was like somebody would touch the front door and every time they touched the front door, like dollar signs kept popping up with higher and higher numbers. Well, this is how I keep myself from doing that. Anyways, questions, comments, complaints? Drop them below. Thanks for watching. Bye.